All right, I'd like to call our workshop to order. Declare a quorum of 5 trustees present. Okay. Takes us to item C, consideration, discussion, and possible action related to management oversight workshop for the CSISD purchasing department. Mr. Martindale.
Thank you, Mr. Nugent and board members. Of course, every semester we have an oversight meeting to dig deep into one of our 6 operational systems. This semester, this fall, we have our purchasing department here for our oversight workshop. So we have Ms. Carmela Schaefer, Director of Purchasing, and Ms. Amy Draws, our Chief Financial Officer, here to give us a deep look into our purchasing process and department. So, Ms. Schaefer, Ms. Draws.
Let her start. Is it on? Mr. Nugent and Mr. Martindale, members of the board, thank you for allowing me to give a report on the activities of the purchasing department, which encompasses also the warehouse, central receiving, and instructional materials ordering, storage, and distribution. And with that, I'll go ahead and start. In 2016, the district, with the last bond election, the district built a new purchasing building and facility. Actually, the purchasing used to be in this building down at the other end when I first started here in 2009. And then it went back there to the technology department and then ultimately out there in 2016, which is extremely very helpful as far as receiving from diesel or tractor trailers, because we actually have a full service dock. And by not having a full service dock, it actually increases your shipping costs because they have to use a truck to deliver that has a lift gate on it so that they can, and which takes a lot longer to unload because you have to lift and keep continuing to rise and lower the lift on the truck to be able to unload it. The purchasing department, I don't know if you guys know where we're located, but we are right next door to the transportation building, which most people know where that's located at, right there off of the corner of Rock Prairie Road and William D. Fitch or Highway 40. We have 28,241 square feet of office and warehouse floor space, which allows us to store our commonly ordered stock items that we stock for the district, such as pens, paper, markers, paper clips, Post-it notes, as well as instructional materials. Currently, we have a couple of 3 years of consumable materials for K through 8 that we'll deliver every summer, as well as we have our child nutrition freezer, cooler, and their dry storage out there that we deliver every week to them as well. And we have a conference room out there. Not nearly as nice as this one, of course, but it's nice.
We use it a lot.
Yes.
We really do.
People just don't want to make the trek out there. I don't know why. It's only a good solid 15-minute drive, provided that it's not game day. And what I would like to start with is we have a video here that Chuck's Attican made for us that will kind of give you like a little snip or insight into what we do out there.
Here we see the purchase orders printing. Then they are off to Jen to be processed. She has already checked each order for bid reference and budget code accuracy before converting and printing them. She will then place the orders and sort the pink copies to be sent to the business office. Adrian can be seen here sorting the green and yellow copies of the purchase orders to be sent to each campus and department. This is Chris. Every afternoon around 2:30, all of your warehouse orders are processed, pulled, and double-checked by a second courier to ensure accuracy so they can be delivered the next morning in one-day turnaround. Here we see Jose restocking the shelves with white index paper. As you will see, we buy in large quantities to get the best price and maintain availability. Every purchase order and shipment that is received at the warehouse is scanned into our tracking software to ensure there are no lost packages. Here you can see Chris and Jarius processing the packages. The shelves in the warehouse are constantly restocked for convenience and price value. We keep large quantities on hand to supply an ever-growing need.
So yes, we have that in stock.
This is our instructional materials storeroom. Here we store extra copies of instructional materials, so we have them on hand as our enrollment grows throughout the year. Did you ever wonder what happens to the record file when it leaves your office or school? Here is where they all come to be tagged, labeled, and stored. Most will be here for 5 to 7 years, according to the Texas State Library Commission guidelines, before their final destruction. However, some files are kept permanently. Out of all the items we carry in stock, white copy paper is bought in the largest quantities. We buy these by truckload. 2 truckloads are 1,680 cases, or 16,800 reams of paper. Here we see Chris pulling child nutrition orders from the freezer, dry goods storage, and the cooler unit. Some of this is disposable food trays for serving. The majority of the food carried out from our facility is free government commodities that help offset the price of school lunches to make an affordable, nutritious meal. Here we see Jarius, the warehouse manager, storing pallets of student desks. When schools write off used equipment or furniture, it is sorted into reissue, scrap, or sale categories. Most items that are still in good condition are reissued to schools as needs change. Scrap items are sold to a scrapyard, and sale items are sold at auction when the warehouse is full and we have ensured these items can no longer be used in the district. The surplus shelves are getting full now, so we are getting close to auction time. The warehouse is a constant cleaning project. The warehouse is a large, busy building with constant activity. Deliveries and orders come and go all day.
It would be actually easier to see if the blinds were closed, but that's okay. I mean, it is nice HD quality, but that's okay. This is drone footage right here, by the way, which I think is so awesome. You did a good job. Yeah. Yes, he enjoyed flying the drone. So it is a very nice facility that we are very proud of and very thankful to have. So thank you, school board, Amy, Dad, everyone for it. We certainly, it makes coming to work and working a great place to be. So we'll start with the next, we're going to cover the purpose, board policies that govern purchasing, organization, purchasing department responsibilities, some budget costs and trends, our vehicle fleet, warehouse trends, and office and workspace. So the purpose of our department is to provide a response, in summary, provide a responsive and competent purchasing and warehouse services while upholding the highest degree of professionalism, commitment, and integrity, and ensuring all purchases are made according to the guidelines imposed by both local, state, federal law, and as well as school board policies, which you guys pretty much every single month get the fortunate process to be able to have them on consent agenda.
Sometimes.
Yeah. There's rarely, like sometimes I get a month or two break, and Amy does on as far as purchasing items. The policies in the board, which are all based upon state or education code or state law, are CH, CHE, CI, CMD, and CPC, which you guys are probably pretty familiar with after going to your board required training as well. So that, no, I won't. I will not. I will not.
I know where they're located.
And that's the,
Go read them,
that's the
right?
key.
'Cause they change
It's not
for that,
knowing the
yeah.
answer, it's knowing where to find the answer. And fortunately, that's why we're here. So you don't have to know it. The purchasing and warehouse department, as of right now, consists of 10 people, but 9 positions. We have 2 part-time couriers that are both individuals that, yes, the 38 and 36 is correct. That's how many years they've been with the district. They both were full-time, retired, and came back and are working as part-time couriers. And they work with a smile on their face, and everybody enjoys seeing them. Robert Ford, the one on the bottom, was the former or ex warehouse manager that retired, was able to retire in 2019. And then we have Jerry San Angelo is the current warehouse manager and oversees all of the couriers. And then we have Jennifer Harrell, who is a buyer and textbook specialist. She helps me with creating of bids and issuing and evaluating and awarding the bids. Then we have Jennifer Byrode, purchasing specialist. She's the one that is, well, up until just a month or 2 ago, actually did all the vendor maintenance in our finance system and made sure we had all of the required forms that we have to have before we can actually make purchases with a business. Because unlike the corporate world where you pretty much only have to have the W-9, we have to have about, we need to know the blood type of their firstborn. Almost. I don't either. And then
You could not.
it's about 9 or 10 forms. We probably have yours in hand. If we don't, I will check your vendor file when I get back and see. If not, you'll get the thing. You'll be like, what? There are a couple of forms that causes vendors to actually take a pause. And I'm glad they do, because then that means they're actually reading them. And then, so purchasing warehouse responsibilities, apologize if some of this might be a smidge redundant, but of course we're responsible for purchasing, which means issuing the purchase orders, et cetera, and all that entails. Instructional materials and inventory. We call it instructional materials because, times have changed. Not that I'm that old, but back in the day, it used to be just a textbook, but that has totally changed. Today, it could be a tablet, it could be a computer, it could be a license, it could be a computer cart, different things. So it's changed a lot from just being a textbook. And of course, we have the warehouse and central receiving, and which also covers district-wide mail and package deliveries to all the campuses. Because of fingerprinting restrictions, the district limits who can be on campuses and who cannot be on campuses. And then we have daily deposits our courier picks up and takes to the bank. Child nutrition weekly deliveries. We store the surplus property and reissue it as campuses come out and see what we need or what they need and decide that they can't live without, then we'll take that out to them as well. And then auctions, records retention, and then recycling and food storage and delivery. So purchasing in order, or let me see. Sorry, let me look at my notes. So for purchasing part, we ensure that there's a systematic process to review and approve all purchase of goods and make sure they're in compliance with the federal grant requirements and state law and board policy and local procedures as well. We also strive to have a local detailed knowledge of the campus or department's needs, so that way we can assist them with the evaluation and determine the best value of the items that they're looking to purchase or procure. We are responsible for, by law, we have to have a bid in place, which you guys probably already know what it is, but for the average person, it's just a huge, large quote with a lot of words. But we have to establish those bids for any items if products that we're purchasing that are over $50,000 in the year. And we also assist in the solicitation of quotes to ensure the best overall value for other purchases in the district. again, vendor management. Vendors change, their addresses change, their phone numbers change, their email addresses change, and where they would like for us to send their orders to, it changes. And so that's one of the things that we have to, as well as maintaining annual forms that we have to have every year. We maintain supplier relations to encourage participation in the procurement process. And please feel free if you have any questions or you're like, what, that doesn't make sense, or you're talking too fast, just stop me. My husband says I talk fast, but I just tell him to listen faster.
That's right. I'm listening to you. You're doing fine. Vendor management, do you have the software that you use for that? Or
Yes. It is it's called eFinance. It's the software that handles all of our purchasing, accounts payable, payroll, HR, everything, all same package.
It's also
Yes.
our inventory system for ordering.
Yes, that's true. So in the purchasing section of the department, we approve requisitions. So the campuses or departments, they enter in a requisition at their campus level, and then they approve it online. And depending on the purchase, there's other levels of required approvals. Like if it's over $5,000, for instance, Amy or Thad have to also approve that purchase requisition as well before it will actually come to us to allow us to convert it. And then once it does get all of its approvals and they have those in place, then we do what we convert it to a purchase order and email it to the vendor to place the order unless it's an online order. And then in that case, then we log into whatever the online system is. For example, we have Staples, Wilton, School Specialty, or just to name a few of companies that our campuses can actually place their order online with them. And then it comes over to us and it's like in a holding queue. And once we get the purchase order, we can log in, add the purchase order and release the order, and then they'll ship it. Which saves everybody time, and it makes it easier for companies because then they have their orders accurate. And again, we're responsible for purchasing all of the supplies needed to stock the warehouse items that are commonly purchased throughout the district, which I'll go into detail on that later. And then, of course, purchase instructional materials all throughout the year. And some of that is also paying for annual renewals for instructional materials. And then we review contracts for purchasing and federal compliance.
When do we have to or use the purchasing co-ops as opposed to not? If that makes any sense.
So, I see what you're saying. I just skipped right over that, didn't I? So, we don't have to use the purchasing co-ops, but what it does allow us to do is because, I mean, there is only two, or basically 1.5 of us that issues and is able to process bids. There's no way we could do all of the bids that are needed to run a school district. So then the purchasing cooperatives come into play there because they go ahead and issue bids and put them out there so that we have the ability to use them.
So really, we can use a purchasing cooperative in lieu of us going out for an RFP on pretty much anything, as long as the type of product the vendor has bid with the state and that they're in there. Sometimes we feel like we can get a better price by going outside of the co-op and doing it on our own. So sometimes we're looking for that. And maybe for continuity with what we already have. So we always can, but if there's a good variety of vendors that we've done business with, we know what their products are, this also speeds it up because we don't have to advertise and wait for 2 weeks in a row and wait. We can go directly to them and get our multiple quotes and our specifications. So it speeds things up probably by almost a month. At least.
Because everything in a cooperative has already been
Yeah, it's already
competitively
been
bid and
competitively
priced,
bid.
and it's overseen by a managing board, correct?
And then you want to get quotes from them and not just take, because there is some flexibility there. Some of them are kind of discount type bids, similar to what we do. And so you want to get, and you could have the same product with 3 different vendors in the co-op, and they each have 3 different pricing. So we still call and get quotes
Okay.
from multiple cooperatives if we can. Sometimes supply, some of them can't supply it or something, but almost everything we could use a purchasing cooperative. There's some things that just aren't offered, but we try to choose what is the best value for the district when we're doing
Okay,
it.
so
And
even with
time is a lot of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but even within the co-op, you still are looking at multiple. I
Yes,
got
we're
you.
still trying to get at least 3 and sometimes more. It kind of depends on the product that we're looking for and what's out there. Does that help?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll follow up on just generally then, so what kind of percentage do we end up using co-ops for purchases versus not? I mean, just rough it.
I do have a slide actually
You have it? Perfect.
coming up
I'll wait.
that will tell that. And the cooperatives also allow us to use a lot of vendors that would be like low dollar purchases, like office supplies and things like that. They're just small, repetitive. And it also helps us to be able to use some of the local vendors like Sam's Club and things like that we wouldn't, we don't spend necessarily $50,000 with them, but it helps us to be able to get a better price by using the co-op because they've established and requested prices and discounts with them. And some of it is also a savings on just the shipping in addition to the catalog discount price. But, okay. And so the district's competitive procurement guidelines are, of course, if it is, we recommend that they get written quotes for any purchases from 10 to 49,000 and up. Of course, if it's over 50,000, then if they don't get a second quote, I get it for them. And it has helped, and it does help save. And if you ask vendors, especially if you're buying in larger quantities, just because it's on the cooperative, they're not restricted to just whatever price they quoted on that cooperative, or even on our bid. If we're ordering in large volumes, we will call them and ask for a specific quote because we're ordering a larger volume. And almost always, we get a better price. Federal purchases, they are a beast of their own. And so fortunately, this year, we were able to have our commodity codes when it reaches 25,000 versus 10,000, then we're required, once the commodity code reaches the 25,000 mark, that they have to have 2 quotes, which is not a lot when they start purchasing, but it really is helpful whenever they're purchasing, just like pens, pencils, and paper, because, I mean, that they could spend quite a bit of time on just getting quotes for pens, pencil, and paper.
So that limit is on an annual basis, not on a per purchase order. That's why it accumulates fast.
And it's across all federal grants for the year. In 2019, the district was able to purchase a system called Ion Wave, which is an electronic bidding system, or e-bidding. It's pretty standard throughout the purchasing world nowadays, whether it's corporate or even, and now, it's in a price range where governments can afford to use it too. So some of those significant benefits are it allows us to reach more suppliers and evaluate the bids more quickly. And also stores our question and answers in there. And also gives us an electronic version of the bid, whereas in the past we would have to scan it all in. So it's quite helpful. And the suppliers have come to, they expect this type of system now because so many people use it. And it reduces them having to print it all on paper and either hand carry it to us or send it via UPS or FedEx and make sure that it gets to us on a certain time, because if they don't meet the deadline, then their bid will not be considered.
So one of the distinct advantages here is because when we post a bid and it says it has to be in our office by 2 p.m. on this specific date, if it's 2:02, it's late. and we can't accept it. And that's very difficult. This system automatically date stamps and time when they log into the system, when they download the bid, when they do anything with it. And personally, I've had this experience where they said, the bid was done and it's all date. We said, you opened it 30 minutes before the bid was due and you submitted it 5 minutes after it was due. It's all stamped.
Actually, it won't even let them submit it if it's past.
Yeah, and ours, it did, it let them, we saw that they tried to submit it at like 5 minutes after the deadline. So it does put, it helps us out a lot on those situations because they do happen.
Yes, it does. We also have emails notifications in there as well that goes out to the suppliers, letting them know, hey, you have, 7 more days until the bid is due, and information in there. If they're having any questions or complications, then they can call us and we can help them, walk them through it. The purchasing and warehouse operating budget is $73,000, which,
They operate very lean.
yes. Which, so with the software and that varies as to what we end up using throughout the year because of our records cost. It's so volatile. It's hard to tell from year to year, depending on how many records are in there, what is going to have to be processed coming in versus going out to be destroyed. It's not a cheap. Records retention is not cheap. It can cost anywhere up to $20,000 a year. And there's our budgeting trends. You'll see that there was an increase there in 2020 as whenever, or 1920, yes, we acquired the Ion Wave, which is approximately $17,000 a year, which has actually been helpful because in 2019 we had an employee that quit, and instead of filling that position, we were able to purchase and use Ion Wave in place of that person. This is just the changes over the year as far as like the district growth, enrollment, and of course, up until last year, we've added a facility or a campus every year, so that it was nice to have that year break. But we're still maintaining, just, inching up. And now we do have the 9 people, which is quite helpful. Here's our formal bids that we've issued over the last 5 years.
Amy and Carmela, the abbreviations, just kind of, can you speak? Well, I see them, they're at the bottom, but just differentiate a little bit, just 10 seconds for each so that they understand the difference in each of those.
Yes. So on your request for bids and proposals are very similar, but the proposal one allows us the ability to actually negotiate with the vendor or the suppliers when we narrow it down, whereas the request for bids, it's pretty much whatever they've submitted. And but as far as all of them across the board, when we're evaluating, with the exception of qualifications, is not a price, but we do weight price as the heaviest evaluation factor in any of those. And requests for competitive seal proposals, it's saying that pretty much they're all the same, except that it's sealed, and whenever we will open it and announce whoever the people are that bid, if they're there, and what their base bid was, and any supplements or options, if there were any options. And of course, request for quotes is just requesting for quotes, contacting vendors and requesting for quotes. But qualifications, those are whenever, like when we're doing the auditor or architect, those types of positions or services are requests for qualifications that can't be based upon the price. Does that help? This doesn't, oh yes, it does include the renewals there. So the renewals are whenever we issue a bid or a proposal or a sealed proposal, what we usually factor in there is that we have the option to renew it for 2 or 3 additional years if they are in agreement with continuing the pricing the same. And so that keeps us from having to do the quotes or bids every year, which is not just a burden on us. I mean, it's quite a bit of work for suppliers and vendors to have to prepare and respond to bids. It could take them an average of 2 weeks plus. Purchasing trends, purchase orders. We have, just in 2021, purchasing, we approved and issued 14,794 purchase orders, which totaled over $232 million in total. And it covered 1,600 plus vendors. So yes, there's a lot of ordering. And to your question, so in 2021, 44% of our purchases were based on a purchasing cooperative contract. And 26% were based on a district bid. And then we have interlocal agreements. Those could be between like Bryan, Texas A&M, and then some of the ones that have none. A lot of those consist of like student fees, registrations, and things like UIL fees, all those, which wouldn't be on a bid.
Can you give an example of that?
Of like what wouldn't be on a bid?
Yeah, like UIL fees.
So they have like whenever they compete, they'll have registration fees, like entry fees. Mm-hmm. Yep. So instructional materials. Can't remember the year. Penny might remember the year. When TEA changed it, TEA, you used to order all your instructional materials through TEA and they would send it to you. And then I want to say has it been 10 years? Probably about 10 years that then they changed it where they just allocate a certain amount of money to each of the districts, and the districts are required to purchase the instructional materials that they need for their district. And annually, of course, Penny brings it, but annually you guys and the district or Mr. Martindale has to certify that all the instructional materials that we have do meet the TEKS, what they need to meet the TEKS curriculum. But how we help with that part of it is we have what you call instructional material request. It's whenever they're wanting to purchase, like whether it's license, the textbooks, could be little readers, different things. Then we get the request and we submit it to TEA so that we can get the funds, and then we issue the purchase order and place the order with the vendor. And then we receive it and then issue it to whatever department it's or campus it's going to. And we are also required by law to physically inventory all of the instructional materials every June. And then, but every summer, one thing that's picked up is what you call annual consumables. So we will have textbooks that the students can write in, and if they can write in, then it's considered a consumable, and they use it up. So and then the next year, then the campus gets a whole new set of those items or books.
So you guys will have noticed in the past, or I don't know if we have one coming up in the next month or two, sometimes when we have purchases and Amy has it, we usually identify the funding source. So sometimes you'll see from instructional materials allotment, which is approved by every biennium. So if you remember us talking about the budget going into this year, the first year of the biennium, the deficit we're looking at, and I think Amy mentioned to you, well, next year we know it's going to be a plus 2.6 million or something ballpark in that range. That delta was because this instructional materials allotment is always withheld from your state funding piece the first year of the biennium. So that's they withhold this dollar amount for instructional materials allotment the first year of each biennium, and then it resets the second year with your budgeting. But that's what this is.
So just to follow on that, you're saying that the way we spend it, though, is usually more about the same every year. We don't. Is that
It kind of
valid, or-
depends on what it is that we're purchasing, because you can spend it all up front. So sometimes we'll do 2-year licenses and that sort, because that's the better price, is to go ahead and pay for 2 years up
Or
front.
3, I've seen, yeah.
And you can carry over. They don't want you to carry over a whole lot, but you can have some carryover from one biennium to the next. So if we could have a little bit left over, we can carry it. I don't think we didn't have much at all this year. So it depends on what it is. We're 15,000 carryovers, so not very much. It depends on what it is we're buying, is if it's even, but you would think it would probably be higher the first year than the second, because a lot of times we do things on a 2 years, particularly licenses.
Okay. But we have the flexibility. All right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But the majority of it is the same purchases every year, but we do have proclamations every year that TA adopts different materials. We're not required to purchase and use those materials, as long as whatever we currently have or we are using meets those TEEPS requirements. But most of the time, it's been 7 to 10 years since the last adoption, so most people do go ahead and purchase the newer materials, because the materials that are currently have are just like pretty outdated. So in 21, these are the annual, we delivered 51,936 books district-wide, pretty much in a matter of 2 weeks. We delivered some to every campus. It's a lot of books, a lot of pallets of books. And these are the other instructional materials that we delivered in 21. These would consist of items that maybe it's due to growth, and so we had to order additional materials for a subject. But one of the big things that took place last year that you'll see in the high schools and the middle schools is that they changed the textbook that they use for Spanish 1 to be the same at the middle schools and the high schools. So we got those. And like Mike was saying on the IMA, or Instructional Material Allotment, it is funded by TEA. And you are, like the other funding, are at their mercy of how they want to shuffle the cards. So what they have decided with this biennium is that since we only have the health and PE adoption, that they anticipate that, well, we're not going to need as much funds. But it does not take into consideration that we already have annual stuff that we have to pay for every year. So it makes it a little bit challenging. And they only give you, what, 1 month's notice? Pretty much. This is what you have. So this is a picture of the warehouse where we have the stock, where you can see like we stock folders that are commonly used, hanging file folders, poster board, again, the wipes, file folders, some of that, the big rolls of the paper that's like brown paper or red or green that the teachers use to make their bulletin boards look all cute and stuff. And of course, envelopes. And then your tape, Post-it notes, pens, staplers, paper clips. And we do have masks. We have batteries. So our warehouse and central receiving is open Monday through Friday during the school year from 7 to 4 p.m., except on Tuesdays. We have the warehouse manager and one of the couriers comes in at around 5:30 in the morning to load and start the delivering of the grocery and dry good orders to the cafeterias. And this is just kind of a daily, weekly, yearly items that our warehouse and central receiving do. In addition to receiving the freight that comes in, we deliver the mail, and we also track and distribute the PPE, thanks to COVID. But before that, before COVID, we did carry our gloves and we also carried hand sanitizer. We just didn't issue as much. And weekly delivering the food to the campuses, and pretty much weekly, we pick up surplus property from the campuses where teachers may have a little desk or a chair in their room or a broken chair or campus. Then we go and pick that up so that it doesn't clutter the campuses. And then every year in November, we'll start picking up the records boxes and bring them out to our facility and hold them until the company comes in to be able to audit the records to confirm what records are actually in the box, so that we store them in accordance with the Texas State Library Commission as far as how long the records are supposed to be kept. And we also pick up what you call out of adoption instructional materials, which we won't have any this year, but those are the materials, like when I was saying that we have an adoption, which the last couple of years we had K-8 English adoption, and then we had the high school one. So we had I want to say it was over 50 pallets of books to get rid of. Doesn't sound like a lot, but we try to recycle paper. We were thankfully able to find a recycler that took our textbooks, because in the past we've donated them to overseas, but the hard part with that is someone has to pay for the shipping costs to get them overseas, which is quite expensive. We did have one instructor at A&M who had a grant, and he was able to pay for, I think, 1 or 2 pallets, which cost him about $5,000. He was able to get a grant to ship them overseas. But otherwise, their warehouses overseas are full too, so they don't want any, because it's not just us that are getting rid of out of adoption materials. It's statewide. And then as needed, we have research throughout the year, requests for records, and we pull them. We also are responsible for receiving and delivering STAR testing materials to campus testing coordinators, and picking up unused testing booklets and returning them back to the STAR, whatever publishing company or testing company is over the STAR materials that year. And there's a lot that goes into that, because they want to make sure those materials come back and that nobody can possibly get a copy of one of those books. And
Yeah, typically only certain people will sign for those materials on the campus. People don't volunteer to sign
yes,
to
they do
receive
not.
those.
No, they do not.
Yep.
It's true. They're like, who? Yeah, we're like, no, you can't sign for it. Sorry. This is a picture of our receiving and loading docks. This one has a ramp which allows our vans to back into there and load up their vans. This is an up-close shot of our receiving docks, which, so the dock 2 is one that we commonly use for our lower vehicles, like your FedEx or UPS, because that dock actually has a lift on it that allows us to move it up and down to the level of the warehouse floor. And the dock 3 is which we can also use this for the freight trucks as well, but they commonly use this one, which it has a lift and a lip on it that comes up, and it connects to the truck to allow for us to unload it. And it also makes it easy for the pallet jacks to go across those, the transition between the gap between the truck and the dock, as well as the movement of the truck going up and down from getting the materials in and out. They have some pretty cool tools that they enjoy. We have a forklift here, and then we have what you call is a reach truck, which is commonly used in narrow spaces and aisles.
I think to get the full effect of this, we need to go out and actually.
I know, right?
We should have held it out there, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just come out there. That would be more interesting anyways. You wouldn't have to hear me go blah, 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 blah. And then we'd be done in like 15 minutes.
I'm not sure our coverage would allow you to drive one of those, Mr. Mann.
We won't tell. And we have several of these pallet jacks. We're very fortunate that we have electric pallet jacks and we don't have to manually pump them up. We've had, several delivery guys that are like, oh man, I'm so jealous. I'm like, yes, I would be too, because it's also electric and you don't have to use your body weight to pull it, which when you're going downhill is a little bit more risky than going uphill. But it is harder. But with the electric one, I mean, it's a breeze. And then we have the flatbed carts that we use those like when we're unloading UPS and they're just stacking the boxes on there. We use those as well as using those flatbed carts to pull the orders in the warehouse to deliver to the campuses, much like you would use a grocery cart in a grocery store.
So Carmela, so you're saying, does basically everything come through your warehouse? Nothing
Yes.
really goes to the schools, like even if it's a FedEx delivery?
Correct.
Y'all manage everything.
Yes. We have one vendor that will deliver, that is allowed to deliver directly to the campus, and that's Wilton's Office Works. They have a dedicated delivery guy for our district. So, but otherwise it can change. It can be contracted delivery people. So, yes. Even if the campus has their address on the package, UPS and FedEx will bring it to us.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes, everything. It's a lot. I know, because we'll get phone calls and they're like, hey, my package just got delivered. Do y'all have it out there? I'm like, I'm going to need a little bit more information because
But
there are
then-
hundreds of them out there.
And then the other side of that is you are probably going to almost every school every day then, right?
We go to
every school every day.
Every school every day, twice a day, actually. Yes, ma'am. And yes, so we have 2 box trucks with the lift gates on those, so it allows us to put a pallet on there and safely load the pallet and unload the pallets whenever they get to the campuses, because we deliver the water and which is used by the child nutrition department. They sell it at both of the high school campuses and I think at the middle schools as well. But we deliver those and we use the pallet jacks and we deliver them in pallets, as in addition to the consumables and instructional materials during the year. Those 2 trucks and the furniture, those are very, very handy. And these are our courier vehicles that we use to make the deposit pickups, mail packages. And that's just more detailed about our average age of our fleet is 4 years. We have been able to, the last couple of years, to purchase 3 new vans, which has been nice because they're actually the 150 or Transit 150 vans, which is lower to the ground, which is less wear and tear on the courier's body, getting in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out of the van on a daily basis. And they also have some of the cool new features like the Bluetooth and the backup cameras so that they can see if there's any body behind their vans whenever they're backing up. Because we do have little kids and other things. So I don't think I have it on that one. One of the box trucks, this larger one here, 26-foot one, we were able to acquire that actually from our transportation department. It was an underutilized vehicle, and we retired our other box truck last year. It was 21 years old because it was having a lot of issues, and the mechanic was like, please don't bring that vehicle over here to me again. It's just like, I mean, literally, like the top of the cab was rusted completely out, and so every time it rained, it just like water poured in there. And he said the battery, I don't know how he was keeping the battery in there, but apparently it was all wired in there so the battery would stay, because the little holder had all rusted completely out. But we were able to acquire this one and pay for a converted lift on the back so that it's wider and we can put the pallet jacks on the back of it. This location, this is where all the action happens. It's nice and clean in this picture, but normally it's just like full of boxes here, and that's where we do have the system there that we scan, which is another software that we pay for. But what it does, it allows us to scan every single barcode on every package, and we have the little, I don't know what you call those little things. Anyways, little thing where people can sign for it. So that way, whenever we do drop it off at a campus, and then they'll say, hey, y'all never delivered X, Y, and Z, we can go back out there, pull it up by the barcode. We can pull it by the tracking number or by the supplier or even the campus, and we can tell them, oh, well, here's who signed for it. You need to go check with them, because it could have been, someone else in the office at the time. We do average about 15 different freight carriers during the year. And our couriers do deliver approximately 108 packages a day to the campuses. We have 2 routes, a north and a south route, and then we have a 3rd route that's for other requests during the day or weeks. And in the mornings, they take out all the warehouse stock orders to the campuses and the mail delivery and any surplus property transport if they had requested, like shelves, or which we have commonly shelves, desks, different things. And then in the afternoon is when they will take their packages out to all the campuses and also pick up and deliver the child nutrition. They'll have mail at their central office that they put in these little pocket folders, plastic, and our guys take them all to each of the cafeteria for all the cafeteria managers. And then we have a part-time courier that picks up all the deposits in the afternoon and takes them to the bank. And they have deposits at the cafeterias and the offices. Not the offices every single day, but the cafeterias pretty much every single day. Our couriers average 186 miles and 8 hours per day on their routes. So having those nice vehicles is kind of like their office and their office chair. So when they wear out, which they do from getting in and out so much and using them so much, but yes, they pretty much live in those vans. And again, in 2019-20 is whenever we were able to add the part-time courier, and so that he could go make the deposits in the afternoon, which gives the cafeterias and offices a little bit more time to prepare their deposits and get them put together. And also relieve the other 2 couriers and let them be able to answer any questions instead of just like drop the packages and run to the next stop. So they do have 18 stops a day, or well, 18 stops in the morning and 18 stops in the afternoon. You can see how over the years, as we've added campuses and locations, even adding the new purchasing building increased the miles that they drive per day over the years. They still maintain 8 hours. It is. And they have it down to a science to which campuses, like the parents, what time they get there for after school pickup, and hey, I need to get there this time, or not, don't go there, don't go there, yes. So they have strategically figured out where they need to be and when. Our number of packages per year, you can see it dipped a little bit in 1920. We're not real sure why. But
All of our graphs have that dip.
yeah, I'm like, So it's creeping back up. I was still shocked to see that it was that much with the COVID year, with us shutting down that year, which when we say we shut down the campuses, purchasing and warehouse did not stop. We still had to supply the food because the feeding did not stop. We still had to supply the paper because they were still copying paper and instructional materials for the campuses, as well as ordering pens and those types of things that they needed. And in addition to delivering some PPE and providing PPE to the transportation department. So while we were able to scale it down to a skeleton crew, it didn't stop. And the other buyer, bless you, Jennifer and I, man, and even with Amy, we were just like hunting and pecking for the PPE, as well as trying to get those stickers in and all of the signage. It was a lot in a short period. Lots of phone calls, and in addition to trying not to get the COVID or give it to anyone else. We stock over 235 items currently in inventory. And we've added 47 new items since 2018. Granted, a lot of that was the COVID. which increased our items by 20%. Our annual value as of August 31st for the items that we currently had in stock was $222,000. And our total sales for items that are purchased through our warehouse for the campuses is over $379,000 last year.
So, well, I was just going to get her to kind of explain exactly. So bulk order as a district stored in a warehouse of commonly used items. Then the district, and then the campuses in essence order from the warehouse at that discounted rate because we as a district purchased it in
Yes.
bulk. So that's what she's speaking about here.
And part of the e-finance system, we have a warehouse system where they can go in and actually enter in the stock number, enter in their budget code, how many they want of it.
We're good on warehouse space for the foreseeable future.
Say it again?
We're good on warehouse space, physical space?
Yes. Mhm. We don't have room to store people's like foo-foo stuff.
What would be foo-foo stuff?
Well, yeah, define it. I'm not gonna.
So the answer is yes.
Their decorations and stuff, so.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Yeah, and later she's going to go over some goals and objectives. But when I've been out there, an area that we probably need to focus on for space is records, and we're focusing on that right now, and doing a better job of determining those permanent items, making sure we're imaging those instead of trying to store those boxes. So in time, I think that's going to be the requirement for us. Most of our vendors, they'll deliver, multiple times. And I'll tell you this story because it was when I first started in school business a long time ago. They were telling me, well, we're getting 16 for our paper delivery tomorrow, and we don't have any room in the warehouse. And I'm going, 16? Okay, we can't find room for 16. I'm thinking pallets. They meant trunk loads. So, but they've gotten better since then. You don't have to get your whole year's supply at once. We called them and said, can't we get like a half a year at a time? So that's just kind of gives you an idea of the type of storage that could happen out there if you had to do a whole year at a time and store it. And some things we do. But I think records,
16 trucks.
no, but I think records is an area that space-wise, we need to probably start looking at, and we've got some meetings scheduled on how we can utilize software that we already have in a better way and move that direction.
But we do have some nice shelves so we can go vertical. So what the warehouse requests, like we were saying for the commonly requested items that we stock, we had over 2,000 actual warehouse requests entered in last year. And each request can have, which most of them have multiple items. So we actually filled or pulled over 6,700 items last year. Which still, even with the COVID year, that was quite a bit. And this is just a trend of our sales versus the number of items that we've sold in that year. So in 21, we pulled and sold over 81,400 items and for $379,000. With this chart, it shows you that, like kind of what Amy was saying, that we're able to track along with our purchases and our sales so that we're not sitting on stock for a long period of time. Because it shows you the blue line is what we purchased, and then this is what we've used for the year. So we monitor it on a regular basis to try to keep up with the campuses and departments. These are the top 10 items over the last 3 years. So yes, there's more than 10 items on the list because one may have made the list before in another year. I don't know. I was kind of surprised on the number 2 pencils and the tissues, but of course copy paper is the big one, and then composition notebooks. So we talked about warehouse orders, so that's ordering stock. Then we have what you call work orders for the warehouse, which are consists of picking up records, picking up surplus items like excess furniture, broken furniture, or moving furniture from one person's, if a teacher moves a different room, things like that. And or picking up Sam's Club orders or some other orders. That's what this consists of. And so we average about 704 work orders per year that are completed between 2.5 people. Let's see. Some of the other requests we get are for graduation, like setting up the chairs, tables, or the stands. It's changed the last couple of years. We assist with going and picking up the stuff the bus items, supplies for 50 men, choir and band concerts, and art displays, which aren't used just for art, used for lots of different things. It's like these panels like this right here, but they're on stands where people can put and display pictures, awards, used for a lot of award banquets. Of the various work orders, this just kind of shows you a trend here of the work orders, which items were, which were surplus item requests, asset deletions, or just transporting items for people. And then we have our work orders here that the percent of them that we get completed within 72 hours. We're tracking pretty good. You can see that we have improved since 2017, and that is with the addition of the part-time courier has significantly helped us to be able to meet that goal of completing those within 72 hours. And then our average response time per work order is, we've got it down to, we're averaging, right under 10 hours.
Why did it drop so much?
Again.
That's good. I'm just curious as to what the
addition of
impact.
courier.
Half a part, that was a part-time courier, correct? Or full-time?
In 2020, and then we had the half one of Robert Ford.
Okay.
Yes. They don't play, is what you can say. They hump it and bump it. And especially Ford, he was like, don't I have anything else to do? If you don't have anything else to do, I'm gone. I'm like, okay, see you, man.
They've done it for a while, so they're pretty
done it.
efficient with it, yes.
Yes, they are.
So just a quick question.
And they know the campuses, and they know the district, and they know the personnel, and people are familiar with them.
I'm wondering how we're tracking on time. I'm wondering if a 5-minute break for board members to grab something to eat or a restroom, are we okay with where you are in your presentation, Ms.
think so.
Schaefer?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
if you want a 5-minute break.
How about 5 minutes if you want to
Okay,
fix something,
awesome.
hit the restroom, I think, and if you have another obligation, Mr. Ben, that's up to you.
Oh, that's correct.
But I want to give everybody just a
Sorry about
minute
that.
for a break. Okay, fine, so, is that okay, Mr. Nugent? 12:06? Thank you.
Okay, so surplus property. One of the big things that we have to do as being a governmental entity is by law, we are required to determine if an item has any value before we can dispose of it. So that's where we were talking about, we separated the items into reusable, whether it's scrap or surplus. Because even if a chair, it looks pretty raggedy, we could still potentially sell it in an auction because we sell them in lots. Some of the items that we commonly, that just come through like revolving doors, student desks, teachers' desks, study carrels, right, which those are those items where, like a single student needs to take a test or concentrate. Computer tables, horseshoe tables, those are like for the younger kids, it's like in the shape of a horseshoe and the teacher's in the middle. Various tables, shelves, student and teachers' chairs, stools, storage cabinets. We always have people wanting storage cabinets. Carts could be carts with the AV carts, some with cabinets, and of course 2 and 4 drawer file cabinets. These are all items that are, been purchased by the district, but we do have the space where we can store them temporarily and then reissue them. So over the years, these are the items or requests for surplus items. And last year was a big year with the social distancing and additional spacing that they needed. So in actually since June of 2021, in 4 months, these are items that we had in the warehouse that we reissued to various departments or schools, and with an average savings of $59,000. And this is some of the items that we will hold on to in surplus storage if they're reusable. Like the student desks, those are like mostly the high school or middle school area. We actually have like teacher desks here, lots of chairs, tables, conference tables, even like media or literature display units. Computer desks, or tables, I mean. More desks. You can see we even have barely see it right there. We have a treadmill out there right now. And these are file cabinets that have been sent to us. I don't know what this thing is, but it came from the CTE department that looks like it cuts metal or something. But that one, I don't think we're going to reissue. It's going to probably go in auction.
Probably if you plug it in and turn it on, throw the whole system.
Yeah, right. Blow all the circuits out there.
Probably something that Mr. Horak used when he was
And we use the online auction company, Swico Auctions, so I'll be curious to see come, end of the year, what it goes for. Probably a pretty good penny. These are just the proceeds that we have made or earned during the last several years by conducting the various auctions. And the items that were not, that were broken, not auction worthy or reusable in the district, we took to scrap and recycled them. In 21, we earned just over $2,000 in recycling revenue, but we also saved by not taking them to the dump, because if we took them straight to the dump instead of recycling, we would have had to pay dump costs of $286,000 or $286, not thousand. Thank goodness. Yes. And recycling, the district does recycle paper district-wide, and Texas Commercial Waste picks up that paper each week from the campuses in the central office, and they have recycling bins at each of the campuses and the central office. And what we do at central office, if a department's recycling bin gets full, they will enter in a warehouse order, and we'll come out and exchange it with an empty one.
Carmela, can I ask on the recycling, is it only the paper that goes through y'all? right
Yes.
now? Not even aluminum cans?
No. Mm-mm. I think someone else, one of the other groups will, on the campuses, each one does. Well, there's not very many cans on the campus unless they're bringing them.
Right, it's more, probably plastic bottles, just
Yes,
true.
because we don't have even the vending machines are plastic bottles now. And there's not a lot of those on campuses. So again, on the records retention, again, like Amy was saying, that we do collect them every year, and we're required to, and we are in the process of expanding and better utilizing the imaging and scanning software that the district currently owns. In 2018, this is what the records room looked like. So get a visual, see how empty that shelf is, and how empty that one is. And then 21, this is where we're at today. This is before we collect records this year. Over in this area over here is primarily all of the records that we're required to keep permanently, which a lot of construction, some of the student records are required to keep permanent. And we have file cabinets that line the entire back, and this wall over here for employee records, which they've since started electronically imaging them, but we still have all those records from employees way back in the day.
So construction records, you wonder why they're permanent. And normally it's 5 to 7 years for expenditures, but in construction, if you utilize bond funds, the life is for the extent of the bond. So you're talking about 25 years, so you might as well say it's permanent. And then if it got refinanced or refunded, so records for anything purchased with bonds, it's for the life of that bond. So pretty much they're permanent. Then these are the types of things that we can start imaging instead of storing on paper that we can save.
So this is our records retention trends, which are new boxes and boxes that have to be destroyed every year. We have seen an uptick in the new boxes, which are the blue or purplish looking lines, which I would expect that to be an increase there, just because in the past 5 years we've added 4 new campuses. So that's a lot of new kids, a lot more records that we have to keep. This chart shows a cost to destroy the records. Where last year we had a lot of boxes that we had to destroy. So between the cost to process them and destroy them, it was right at $20,000 in 2020. Sorry, last year was just right at $10,000. So it's kind of one that's hard to determine. The destroying you can, the new records coming in, it depends on when the campuses or departments run out of space and send the records over to us, and or, number withdrawals and different things. This is an image of the area where we store. This is the freezer for child nutrition, and then their cooler over here, and then their dry goods is over in this section. That's the refrigerator and the freezer. It's obviously not had their delivery yet. And this is the dry goods, not the best picture. Then we get to system integrity. So again, like what Amy was saying, is that the purchasing in the district is committed to fair and open bidding opportunities for vendors, and I think we do a really good job of that, and we take that to heart and make sure we keep it open and fair and honest from vendor to vendor, and we make sure we maintain that arm's length relationship with those vendors. Even if they want to take us to lunch, we're like, no. We hold each other mutually accountable to high standards and ethics in our department, as well as whoever is on any evaluation committee of a bid. They're held to that same level of ethics, and also required to sign off stating what they're allowed to discuss and not allowed to discuss during that process. And or if they have any conflict, then they need to exempt themselves from and not participate in the evaluation. Again, we are definitely transparent in our processes and open and honest in our communications, especially with our vendors and our the campuses. And the electronic bidding system helps us with that, because they can see all of the stuff online. It posts it right online. Fair evaluation practices. It's pretty standardized for the school district, what the different components that we're allowed to are required to evaluate a bid on. And we publish that with the bid, so whenever they get the bid, they know exactly what the parameters are and what the weight of those different items are that we're going to evaluate the bid on. And again, we put the price as the highest factor in there. And so we provide opportunities for potential bidders to do business with the district. We have our webpage where they can go in and they can sign up to receive notifications of when we have a bid. And we're required to advertise them in the bids in the local newspaper, and we post them on our webpage, as well as having pre-bid conferences. And that depends on the type of bid that's going out, whether or not you need to have a pre-bid conference. And then staff attend conferences and vendor exhibits to meet some of those other vendors that may offer those same goods that could possibly do it at a better price. We provide training to administrative assistants, principals, instructional materials, and textbook coordinators, and all staff has access to our policies and procedures handbook, which is online. The department receives training every year from TASBO and IMCAT, which is Instructional Materials Coordinators Association, which they are responsible for. It's an organization that gets together textbook coordinators, because in the smaller school districts, they don't have the luxury of having a purchasing and warehouse department. So that person may be also like a penny, and they're responsible for evaluating those materials in addition to ordering them, receiving and distributing and inventorying them. So we receive training from Region 6, as well as we have a local Brazos Valley Purchasing, Public Purchasing Association here as well. Certifications in our area. We have Jennifer Harrell, their buyer, and myself are what you call Registered Texas School Business Administrators, which is the highest certification that you can receive from TASBO. I know you guys are familiar with TASA. TASBO is it's kind of similar to TASA, but it's dedicated for Texas or our school business officials, which is really, really nice, because it allows us to all collaborate and network with other people, district or all throughout the state of Texas that do the same thing we do, so that we can, best practices, or if there's something you're looking at implementing or doing, you can say, hey, how have you done this in the past or handled this? And it's nice because we share it, because we're not in competition with each other. I have 2 people that have actually started the TASBO certification, because they do have 3 levels of certification. They're in the very beginning stages. Jennifer and Jairus. Jairus is our warehouse manager, and they do have courses and networking with other warehouse and receiving, and as well as like the testing, and they go over not instructional materials, receiving, and how you set up and order and structure your warehouse. So lots of good stuff there. It's really nice. If you see like Northeast CSISD, they have theirs almost set up similar to Amazon, with the moving shelves and the pickers. It's kind of crazy. It's like, wow. And then we have forklift certified. I am not forklift certified. I don't know that they want me to drive the forklift. I do get to use the pallet jack though. But we do have, let's see, there's 6, 7. Jennifer Byroad, she's the one that's now our purchasing specialist. Up until 2019, she was actually a courier. So, and she is now our purchasing specialist, so she is still forklift certified. And it's kind of nice, because there are times whenever they have to all be out, and he's like, hey, do you mind watching the warehouse? And she can actually unload if we need to use the forklift. So it's kind of nice. Not too many people would want to work in the office, and you have to say, hey, by the way, you might have to unload a tractor trailer. They would be like, it's a deal breaker. But it's great having her there, and she's definitely willing to do it and enjoys doing it, as well as helping them make deliveries whenever they were running tight on time at the end of the school year this year, and getting the textbooks and the instructional materials to the campuses. Ethics. You guys are all familiar with that. Ethics, we're all required. It's required by the board. It's required by the board policy. And in addition to, TASBO also has an ethics course that's required to take in order to be able to get your certification. And of course, the conflict of interest questionnaires that you guys have to fill out, we also have to get them from the vendors as well. Accountability, our warehouse stock, we conduct semi-annual audits where we actually physically count the items every December and August. And instructional materials, again, we have to inventory those. They're actually, the books are barcoded, and at the campus level, they have a barcode scanner, and they actually scan and check the book out to either, if it's a classroom set, they check it out to the teacher. If it's to a student, they check it out to an individual student, and it has their student ID attached to it. And we update our records retention plan annually, as well as we have a database of all the boxes that are in the storage. Not every single item that's in that box, but it'll say what what kind of items are in that box. Our shipments, the name of the system where we capture all the packages that come in and they go back out to the district is called NeoPost, which is something they started using in 2017. And prior to that was all 100% paper, where you had to, they wrote down not every single tracking number, but maybe portions of it. So if someone was looking for something, you'd have to go and flip through a bunch of paper to try to find the box. MSDS sheets, material safety data sheets. We have those on file for the products that we're required to have them for in the warehouse, like hand sanitizer. We also have we stock what's it called? I want to say dishwasher, but it's not. It's for laundry soap that they use for child nutrition and athletics. Accident reports. We keep those. We're fortunate that we haven't had any accidents in the last several years. We don't conduct the safety audit, but it's something that whenever they have the safety audits, they also come out there and audit us for our safety as well. And then we've all attended the district required training in EduHero for the bloodborne pathogens, child abuse, and FERPA. We coordinate with various local entities like Region 6, Bryan ISD, TAMU. One of our big contracts that we use with TAMU is a lot of AV equipment and but fuel. We did a joint bid with them along with Bryan, Brazos County, City of Bryan, City of College Station. We all collaborated together so that it would drive up our usage and we get a better price on fuel. Oops, wrong way. Performance metrics. We have numerous metrics and they fall in either productivity, quality, timeliness, customer satisfaction, and safety. So let's see, number of responses per bid that we received. So average bid responses in 2021 was 10. We were at, of those number of bid responses that we received we had more than 3 responders, we had 90%. It's not too bad. And then our work orders again, this is the work orders that we completed that are, moving the furniture, picking up deliveries for people, or those kinds of things. We've closed those, over 99% of them. Some of them, there's a little margin of error, maybe just one that was just like, it was not a work order that was intended for us. It was intended for another department. Our department turnover, we have several people retired in 2019. So it looks kind of funny there, but otherwise we're pretty steady. People just, they come out there and they stay, they enjoy it. And if they do move, several of them have moved to other departments in the district. This one just is going on the certifications again. That over 7 of us have the various different certifications that pertain to our work area. Time to process formal bids. While this one says we have 22 days, there were some in there that we rushed. I mean, they were rushed. We had to get them through. But like Amy says, to really thoroughly vet one, it's 60 days is not uncommon. And to give the suppliers time to prepare the materials to respond to the bid, because at minimum we're required to advertise it for 2 weeks.
Did the Onway purchase help with this turnaround time on bids?
Yes. Because we get it electronically and we can evaluate it and tabulate it instead of someone manually having to go in and create a spreadsheet of every single item and the price for every single vendor. Let me see this one. Oh, the number of work orders that were completed. We had a chart on there and discussed that earlier about the 99%, and that was the addition of the courier, the 2 part-timers. Customer satisfaction. So we issue a survey every year district-wide at the end of the year. So we're, as of last year, they had a 95% satisfaction rate. And let's see, this one is again about the survey. So we had 39 people respond. I'm sorry, this one is for the work orders. This one over here is our annual survey that we send out.
This says to administrative assistants. So it's the folks in the front office that your folks engage with and do business with.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Yeah, not too bad. So I did go ahead and put, these are comments and or suggestions that the last 3 years people have put on there. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So, and we use these, we look at this feedback on to see, you know, is there anything we need to change or do something a little differently, or maybe see what's going on. But people are very open and honest, like you can see on here. Like they were like, only thing I know is like your Ziploc bags are high. Like, we're like, okay, yeah. So we look at that, and maybe they don't need Ziploc brand, but you know, maybe some of them need the one with the little tab. But I think now even the cheaper ones have the little tab to make it easier to open the little zip bags. But these are just like kudos, which are nice to share with the guys. And workers' comp. So in the last 2 years, we haven't had any. 2018-19, we did have a courier that while he was making deliveries, he tripped. Trying to carry 2 main boxes. I say he was, I'm not really sure. He tripped on the curb. Broke his wrist. And let's see, vehicle accidents. Luckily, we have not had any in the last 3 years. Monitoring and reporting. We are responsible to the administration for our staff review and metrics to review those annually, as well as we provide that to you guys as well. And we have our annual external auditors that whenever they're auditing when the business office, they also audit our processes as well and test samples. And we're also subject to the federal audits, just like everyone else. Like with our child nutrition department last year went through an audit with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Our accomplishments and goals. Y'all want me to read them all to you? I'm kind of excited about them. We started in 19 recycling the broken furniture instead of just taking it to the dump. And we've created and are updating our vendor profile from electronic documents instead of paper starting in 2020. Whereas we would have people print them out and then scan them back in. But we've refined that process to do it all electronically. And as well as electronically attaching required vendor paperwork to the vendor profile to make it visible district-wide. And then this last year implemented the multi-tier requisition approval process, whereas we've added Amy and Thad in there to be able to approve those items and review them that are over 5,000. And in 2020, emailing purchase orders to vendors instead of faxing. I know, right? Yes, we still have a fax machine. Can you imagine being a vendor on the other end and getting that list of books and it's a fax and you're kind of like, is that an 8 or is that a 6? And then in 2020, automated the e-bidding system, which we are still learning. It's a learning in progress because it can do quite a bit. We added online ordering and approval for Lakeshore Learning, Lowe's, Home Depot, Sam's Club, Staples, and right now we're currently in the process of adding Barnes & Noble. We improved the safety with the addition of the 2 newer vans and the additional safety features and it being lower to the ground. Adding the larger lift to the 26-foot box truck has made it safer for the employees to unload the pallets and large furniture items. And then in 2020, the addition of the second part-time courier has helped reduce the complaints about incorrect warehouse orders, primarily because now our other couriers are able to double check and audit the warehouse orders to make sure that they pulled the right items and the right quantities of the items, which has also helped improve inventory counts and adjustments and improve the interdepartmental relationships because the route carriers have a little bit more time to spend with the campuses and departments when they're making deliveries or pickups. We saved over $80,000 by taking over the underutilized 26-foot box truck from transportation. And we saved in 21 approximately $59,000 by collecting and reissuing usable surplus property. And in 21, we saved a campus over $25,000 on desks by requesting more than one quote from a vendor. And in 21 to date, we saved the district $39,000 in PPE costs by reaching out to local emergency personnel to see if they had any available for us to request. And to date, we've received 75,000 pairs of gloves, 504 containers of wipes, and 3,700 gallons of hand sanitizer. That's just since July. And we have in combined savings for the district in 21 is over $124,000. Our goals to be able to electronically sign purchase orders, reduce records storage and make it easier for people to actually get to the records by scanning them and having them electronic. It also helps with responding to open records requests if you already have them electronic as well. Research online receiving, because right now, as you saw in the video, we're issuing papers so that the campuses they have to sign off and send the paperwork to the business office letting them know, hey, we received these items, you can go ahead and pay the invoice. Research and compare our CH local policy to other districts to see where we could potentially improve. And continue to work towards reducing the paper in the purchasing and receiving process, and then maybe drone deliveries. Just kidding. That's funny. Yeah. This is I guess those are all, if they do drone deliveries, I guess that's all like computerized. It's not like people there sitting there playing video games. I mean, I don't know. This image here is just recently, we delivered a 3-door floral case to CSISD. They got one of those 3-door floral coolers, like, you know, when you go in the store and it has all the flowers and they're all pretty and stuff. Yeah. So you could tell by the size of the lift. Whenever they took the picture, I was like, hey, did you get a picture of Ford? And he emailed me and he was like, yeah, Ford's on the other side of the box. I'm like, oh, he's supposed to be in the picture. He's like, he is in the picture, he's just on the other side. This here is in central office. They have a mail room where they have these plastic totes for each of the campuses, and it's split by 2 separate routes. And so every morning, the 2 couriers go and pick up their mail totes, and then they deliver the mail to all the campuses, and then they'll bring these totes back at the end of the day, because then the campuses put stuff in it to come back to central office. But this is John. He's picking up his totes and then loading his van. And then here's John picking up the child nutrition, those envelope packets there to take to the campus cafeteria managers. We asked the campuses, we're like, hey, would you mind catching some clips of them? And so I was like, they were really good players, good team players on letting them take pictures of them. And this is Jose loading his mail totes and then making a delivery here to CNI. And then CTE, and then he has the little electronic gadget that he captures the signature with him there. He was getting a signature for the package delivery. And we're able to scan that barcode right there that's on the packages, which is nice, so we don't have to create another barcode. And then we, thanks to Carrie, who orchestrated it for us, but we were voted the winner of the favorite pumpkin in the Central Office 2020 virtual pumpkin carving contest. So we stuffed we have this suit here that they'll put on whenever they have to go in the freezer if they're going to be in there for an extended period of time so that they don't freeze. And then we stuffed it with like some We stuffed that little suit, and then one of them carved the pumpkin here, and we got a light and put it on top of there, and so it was kind of cute. And then we had the alien coming out of him. But anyways, questions, comments, concerns? You want me to cut it shorter next time? I'm a little passionate. Sorry.
You should be.
Oh, don't be sorry about that. That was good.
But I
wanted
enjoyed
to-
it. Thank you for
Yeah.
listening, and hopefully I didn't bore you to tears. But
Can you help me clarify one thing? You probably, because we talked, maybe it's seeing the warehouse and talking about the warehouse so much, but the vendor management piece of it. I mean, so did you say, does every vendor that we would use across the district, whether we're buying stuff for them or whether they're just coming to do some work, are those all managed through you? That's what I heard, right? Okay.
yes, that is correct.
So,
Yes.
She's kind of our compliance person, because we do have to have certain information on any vendor that we pay before we can pay them. So she's making sure that the paperwork is current, and that we have everything that we need, and particularly for federal purposes, whenever we're buying with federal funds. All of this ESSER funds is great, but we know we're going to be audited on those in particular. So we complain, including myself sometimes, but their upfront work is helping us out in the end when we get those audits.
and I was even thinking of connecting it with the last one of these we had was with John Hall, right? And obviously they probably have to have a lot of, they have some vendors, but also, lots of some bigger high price item things. So the kind of follow up on that, when they are doing some of the bidding processes that they go through, how does that work? Are they managing that bidding process, or are you managing that bidding process?
We tag team it.
It's a joint effort.
Yes. Especially if it's a construction project, because we'll tag team it with them in conjunction with the architects as well, because they know the ins and outs and all of that. In fact, we just finished one. It closed Tuesday.
Yes, we're hoping you have some more coming up in a.
Yes, we are
Oh, sorry, I can't say that.
anticipating that, and just announcing that you are
Having a bond.
having a bond. The vendors come out of the woodwork, and we have lots of vendors that are now trying to get rid of quite a bit of PPE and stuff, so that contact us on a regular basis. So we get tons of vendor phone calls, emails. Yes.
Yeah, you're busier when we have more active construction going on, I would think, right? That's,
Yes.
yep. And just a last little thought on this, just on the bidding process. I remember 8 years ago or so that I sat on a team with it, so it included school board members. I'm not suggesting that we do that, but I was wondering if that was something that was required at that time, or is it just something we opted to do, if anybody remembers? I mean, it's been like 8 or 9 years.
The only one, I've actually been in the purchasing department for the last 2 years, but the only one looking back that might have been the case is possibly when they did an architect, RFQ,
Yeah.
that it looks like there might have been a board member.
It was over there.
But other than that, yeah, it's not required. I guess it probably just, some of it just depends on what, like the community perception of whatever might be going on.
Right.
So more people get involved, depends. But like for our general office supplies, we'll
No, please don't. No. All right.
have to do printing right now if anybody wants to volunteer.
Thank you for all you do, and I'm glad the facility is working out over there. It's a beautiful place.
And with the new House bill, we now actually get to also ask the vendors that they sign off on that they will not boycott people who have relationships with arms associations, firearms associations, or energy companies.
Interesting.
Another form. We're trying to get rid of paper, but
They keep adding them.
I can only, I got it mushed down to like 9 font. And I was just like, dang. Nope.
I
Couldn't
think
switch
just like everything, I'm always learning something new. Always. I actually really like these because It helps us see that there's so much more that goes on to running a district than anybody knows about, and you help us run so much more smoothly. It sounds like you've got a great team.
Do.
Um,
Very do.
and
Do. We have fun.
I know, thank you.
Great team. I've enjoyed being out there.
Anything else?
Awesome.
Thank you both, ladies,
Yes.
for your time today and
Thank you.
preparing. Very informative.
Awesome.
As always, thank you.
Thank you very
Great,
much.
great job.
Appreciate it. You guys have a great day.
Okay. And with that, we are adjourned.